America Election News. How to Fight Authoritarianism with Joy and Unity. I attended the Anti-Autocracy Conference last week. I discussed the challenge to pluralistic democracy with a nonpartisan group of academics, activists, Trump administration whistleblowers, lawyers, journalists, civil society leaders, current and past elected officials, and a vibrant audience. Many participants said the authoritarian menace is real. The MAGA GOP rationalizes a violent coup and refuses to respect election results. Its nominee uses Hitlerian language. A radical, right-wing Supreme Court grants the president broad criminal immunity, and a variety of state laws suppress voters. Ruth Ben-Ghiat, a famous totalitarianism expert, opened the meeting by saying, "If Donald Trump is re-elected, we will have autocracy." Many Americans think this is exaggeration, especially after MAGA tried to overthrow the government to keep Trump in office illegally. In my field, this is a coup attempt. Trump still promotes strongman rule at rallies. Just days ago, he called communist dictator Xi Jinping brilliant for ruling with an iron fist. She said, Project 2025 is a formula for mass anarchy, power abuses, and government instability. The policy aligns with both current foreign autocracies, such as Hungary under Viktor Orban, and past dictatorships. Later, I listed Project 2025's elements: deporting 11 million people, dismantling the Federal Reserve's independence, replacing 50,000 government workers with Trump sycophants, outlawing Mike Prestone and enforcing the Comstock Act, remaking the Justice Department as a presidential tool, cutting Medicaid, abolishing the Education Department, and imposing 10% tariffs on imports. Project 2025 also shows how much MAGA leaders want the government to implement white Christian nationalism. Point 2 Conference highlights shaped my presidential race view. Coalitions resisting tyranny typically struggle to unite over policy differences. We have seen around the world that authoritarian attempts are defeated when those with ideological and policy differences believe that a stable democracy with the rule of law is the precondition for their long-term interests, said conference participant Michael Podhorzer, former political director of the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations. We saw that in 2020, when the Chamber of Commerce and the AFL-CIO, who agree on nearly nothing, stood strong and together against all election reversals. Norm Eisen, co-founder of State Democracy Defenders Action, co-hosted the conference with Conservative Principles First and advocacy group Democracy Forward, stating, "We are more united than divided as Americans." He presented 10 principles at the conference that define what a long-term right, left, and center coalition would look like to unify the vast majority of Americans against Trump's authoritarianism and ensure that the American democratic tradition continues, and that Trump-led autocracy is permanently banished from the American political. Basically, these principles. A president who defies the Constitution and breaks the law cannot lead a democracy. Without truth, facts, science, and proof, democracy fails. Free and fair elections are the essence of democracy, where people rule. Governance requires compromise and civil debate to settle conflicts. Without an independent, neutral civil service and subject matter competence, a democratic government cannot function. Democracy requires an ethical, self-interest-free governance. The U.S. is essential for global stability, economic growth, and democracy. Our military swears to the Constitution, not a leader. Democracies ensure widespread wealth. Economically successful democracies require domestic tranquility, rule of law, and anti-cronyism. Democracy requires an active, independent press. The American credo emphasizes equality and civil rights. All men and women are created. If they gain support across ideologies, these ideals could unite the anti-autocracy coalition. I was surprised that the conference was fun and lighthearted despite its important topic. Some was grim. Anyone know a real estate agent in Australia? But there were also jokes about foolish MAGA politicians and self-deprecation. Anti-autocracy measures require good humor. Adam Gallagher and Anthony Navone said that humor disrupts prevailing discourses and undermines power by undermining the language and symbols used by people in power to describe reality in a specific way and giving alternative interpretations of that reality. The authors added, authoritarian leaders and regimes rely on projections of unshakable authority, employing fear to preserve control. No wonder they dislike jokes. Trump has said he hates being laughed at. Americans want enjoyment, connection, and in-person relationships. Especially with previously apolitical people, optimism, enthusiasm, and comedy may unite groups. Vice President Harris's laugh unnerves MAGA scolds, perhaps they understand cheerful warriors' power. Harris campaign anti-autocracy. Harris gains from Democrats' relief at their campaign's revival. However, looking at the Harris campaign with fresh eyes, I now see that her delight in speeches, advertisements, and memes is crucial. Her bubbly demeanor, snarky jibes at opponents, and active social media presence unite diverse admirers. Harris's campaign promotes anti-autocracy ideas. She told an excited Wisconsin crowd, "I'll tell you why we're not going back, because ours is a fight for the future. The war is for freedom." She argued for shared prosperity, stating that everyone should have the chance to succeed, not merely survive. "My presidency will focus on middle-class growth." Harris added more anti-autocracy concepts to his Indianapolis speech the next day. "Our nation is witnessing a full-scale assault on hard-won freedoms and rights, including the freedom to vote, the freedom to be safe from gun violence,